Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and I am so excited. We just got done with our Eeveelution week, and now let's go and bring all of our information together to make a really awesome Eevee team that hopefully this guide will help everyone that wants to make an Eeveelution team just make an Eeveelution team, and anyone that just loves Eevee will enjoy this video as well, because after doing this, this is a very fun guide that I've been working on a couple hours to make sure I get it right. So first off, I want to look at the EVs offensively and defensively. That Flareon, Jolteon, and Espeon, they're generally more offensive. Then defensive, we have Umbreon, Fabulous, Leafeon, and in the middle we have Vaporeon and Glaceon. Technically Leafeon's also in the middle, but it does have the highest defensive trait for the EVs that we can use, so I want to try to make the most out of that. And then if we also categorize them, we can go physical and special. Physical attackers can be Umbreon, Flareon, and Leafeon. Special attackers, we're looking at all the other EVs. So that's how it's going to break down. Now, the magical thing about EVs is they cover a very wide variety of types. So you can really have 2, 3, maybe even 4 EVs on one team, and they can cover a whole bunch of weaknesses defensively and give you a lot of offensive bulk as well. That just gives you tons of coverage for your team. So for a non-Baton Pass team, we're going to look at non-Baton Pass and Baton Pass teams today. So again, you can start with Sylveon. You can look at like Sylveon's weaknesses. Well, Steel. What resists Steel? Because we really don't have any EVs that resist poison. So with that resisting Steel, we have Vaporeon. Vaporeon is weak against Electric and Grass, which is resisted by Jolteon. Jolteon is weak against Ground, which is resisted by Leafeon. And then we can just kind of like go through that for the others. And now we have a pretty solid looking team that can kind of cover for each other. If one has a weakness, generally you can switch in safely and resist that while setting up with the now new Eevee. So this would be for all the non-Baton Pass strategies I showed off earlier. That when you look at it, Sylveon, it can have its own setup with Calm Mind. Jolteon can just be an outright attacker. Flareon can have its guts set up. And then we also have Umbreon being a monstrous tank. And we can use Vaporeon as a kind of healer Pokemon. It can throw out Wish. Sylveon can also throw out Wish. And then heal up our weakened Jolteon, Leafeon, Flareon, or Umbreon. So that's how all these Pokemon interact. They interact really well by covering for each other's typings and weaknesses. And then they can all run their own kind of setup way. Now, this is just a mock-up team, just starting with Sylveon. You can start with any Eevee and kind of work. I specifically went for weaknesses, but you can also look from an offensive standpoint or setup standpoint for each Eevee individually, and even then you can cut the chain wherever you want. That if you want to just run 2 or 3 EVs, just look at the 2 or 3 EVs that cover for each other really well, and then integrate them into a regular team. Now, Baton Pass is a lot trickier, because there are a lot of weaknesses. If one chain in the Baton Pass breaks, it might take a lot more effort to recover from that than if you just lose one Eevee. So what I was thinking was, you can start with Jolteon, and then you, again, look at Jolteon's weaknesses. Also, what it provides. Jolteon provides agility. So it's going to be able to Baton Pass off agility. What would like to use agility? Well, Leafeon, it can cover for Jolteon while also liking that agility, and it has a very high amount of attack. Leafeon also has Swords Dance, so if you want to kind of grow your physical Eeveelution team, you can also have other Pokemon like Flareon and Umbreon. But then when we look at it, Espeon always brings a lot to the Eevee teams defensively because it can set up Light Screen and Reflect. And then you also have your healer for Vaporeon, and then that's when we can bring in Umbreon and Flareon to round out those offensive traits that we really would like to see. So, Umbreon technically isn't offensive, but it just has a very strong payback, and when it uses Curse, we try to make it more of a physically just transiting Pokemon. Now, this is more for like a physical kind of setup. And also you can even make it special from there, that while you're leading Jolteon, you can still set up Calm Minds with Espeon, and then you can have some form of special attack to support your Vaporeon and Jolteon with. That's the diversity that Eevee brings, and it's really cool. So if you don't want that, you can just go all special for the most part, and then swap out your Leafeon and Flareon, and then you can include Glaceon and Sylveon. So that's how this kind of breaks down. Now let's hop over into Pokemon Showdown and get a little more hands-on with it. Alright, so now let's go to Pokemon Showdown. We'll show like how you can lead. Now, with an Eeveelution Baton Pass chain, there's many ways to lead depending on how you want to run the chain. What I was thinking is you could start Jolteon. Jolteon is going to give you agility power, and with that agility power, you're going to be able to get a lot of speed priority into pretty much any Eevee. The Eevee, if you look at Vaporeon, 166 speed, very low. Well, if you get 1 or 2 agilities, now it's outspeeding quite a few Pokemon, which means you're going to be using Baton Pass instead of switching. That Baton Pass is going to outspeed your opponent. You outswitch them to get a better edge to either take a not very effective hit or have a better offensive standpoint. And then from there, you can really just get going very strong because you don't suffer too much, and you're keeping a lot of high value stats like speed, defenses, and offenses. And then you can play it out from there. Also, you can lead in different ways. If you want to play speedy, you can lead with an Espeon and kind of work on the defenses a bit. That it's kind of weird that each way that you run this team, you're going to have to change it up differently. So what I was thinking that if you're getting agility into Espeon, you could worry more about having defense and special. Actually, I'll drop this probably down a bit more. You can worry about having defense and hit points with a little bit of special defense, because Espeon's going to provide a lot of special defense through Calm Mind and give you temporary defenses through Reflect. From there, it can Baton Pass out or use Psy Shock to attack and be pretty much your only form of physical damage. If you're not doing that, though, you might have to change around your Espeon a bit. So if you're leading with Espeon, that's where I'd put more into the defenses. That way I don't get knocked out immediately by a physical hit. Still have a good amount of hit point bulk. And I'm going to have a pretty much high speed priority just for my natural base speed. You can run a Timid Nature if you really feel like you want to. I just like the extra points in defenses, even though you're going to get much more out of a Timid Nature and a lot more outspeed. With this, you're going to be able to set up that Reflect, that Calm Mind, and then be able to have Baton Passing into a Jolteon safely, where you can set up your agilities and then play it out from there under Reflect with some Calm Minds hanging around. And Jolteon's going to gain some offensive power as well from that. Then we look at Vaporeon and Sylveon. These Pokemon are going to be your main healers, as well as provide some good offense. That Wish on Vaporeon and Sylveon are going to heal for 50% of the user's max hit points, which means now your Baton Pass wishing about 200 hit points into Jolteon, Espeon, Glaceon, or whatever other Pokemon you have, which generally have lower hit points, so they're going to be getting healed for about 2/3 of their health, or maybe even 3/4 if it's like a Jolteon getting healed by an Espeon or Vaporeon. So you're going to be getting great amount of health sustain from these Pokemon with their Baton Passing shenanigans. Vaporeon can bring defenses with Acid Armor. Glaceon can bring defenses with Barrier. You have Calm Mind on Espeon. You have Heal Bell on Sylveon. Pretty much you look for these Pokemon just to support each other. That it is very risky. If the chain breaks, you do lose a lot of power. But sometimes these Pokemon can't handle it themselves. Also, if you're looking at other ways to run the chain, you can run slower forms of the chain. Wow, that's not how you spell Umbreon. With Umbreon, you know, this Pokemon's going to be incredibly tanky, but a lot slower. So this is where you're going to be able to run Curse. That, if you have Curse, you're not going to be able to outspeed and gain an edge. You're just going to have, like, a lot of tankiness quicker. So you set up some Curses, and this is what that other Espeon set was for. That no speed, because you're already losing a lot of speed. And that's where you just want to get the most out of your special defense and try to carry it over, because you're getting a lot of points from your Curse. Then from there you can get your Calm Minds, and you have a lot of defenses, special defenses, and then you turn that into offense. Calm Mind is going to help out any of the Eeveelutions that are going to be using special attacks, which on this team would be all of them. Espeon's going to be your physical, and then that's how you can play it from there. If you want to use the Flareon and Leafeon, Leafeon's a good defensive tank, so that could be a good defensive pivot right there to get your Swords Dances for Flareon. You can still use Espeon's for Calm Mind and its defenses. Sylveon and Vaporeon are healers. And I think that's it. Hopefully that wasn't too much for you guys. That's kind of just what I've been thinking about for the last couple days, like over the whole course of the week and over hours of just making a single Eeveelution team or so. I've kind of just gained a lot of knowledge where these Pokemon, they mesh very well together. That you can put 2 or 3 on a team, you can have them on a separate Baton Pass team, you can have them on their own Baton Pass team, and they just really pass around a lot of stats safely and efficiently. It's what makes Eeveelution teams so strong, that they can cover for each other, and even without the Baton Pass, they can each individually carry 2 or 3 KOs depending on how well they can set up. And it's just a really crazy thing to watch and a good thing to have on your team. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Also, this wouldn't be a timid nature, this would be a defensive nature, just because I caught that last minute. But overall, that's what we're looking at getting out of this. That could be very strong. And if you love Eevees, hopefully this made sense to you guys. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. So if you guys enjoyed the video, I hope you all have a nice day.